No, wonderful, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to GNR tonight on the 27th. A bit murky out there, but we'll get going. So, apologies, please.
Good evening, members. I have apologies from Councillors North and Wright.
Thank you. Interests? If anyone's got any interests, they can. Oh, I thought there was going to be a twitchy finger then, Sandy, that it was going to creep up, but no, as and when. Minutes, right? So, assuming we've read the minutes, has anybody got any queries? Read the minutes? No. So I'm happy to propose the minutes. If I can have a seconder. Seconded. All in favour that the minutes are okay? Brilliant. Thank you. I'll sign those in a minute. Matters arising from those. The only one that I could see was like the youth centre, but I think we're going to discuss that a little bit later on, aren't we? The youth centre, because I think the letter's not necessarily forthcoming anymore. So, has anybody got any other matters arising from the minutes? No? Wonderful, thank you. Open session for the electors of Newquay. So we have a member in the audience. Oh, okay, okay. Welcome. Right, have we got any written questions then, Andy? If we've got no, wonderful. Swizzing on. Right, let's just get my... Right, so item 6 then, 6A is the ENF recommendation to appoint Newquay and Bloom for a preferred partner. So, Councillor Creek, yes, if you could come in on that one, please.
So I'm happy to defer this at a later stage when we've got more meat on the bones. I think as long as we allocate funds to partnership agreements or sponsorship agreements or whatever we want to call them for 26, 27, I think, you know, we've talked about who those organisations might be, and they tend to be the ones that come back year on year for grants anyway, aren't they? So I just feel like it makes sense for us to formalise some of that for a period of time, gives them certainty, gives us certainty, and sort of frees up some more of the grant funding for those other smaller organisations locally that that come to us for grants on an annual basis. So happy to is deferring or referring this to the next GNR meeting. Thank you.
Do we need to vote on that? Or no, if it's been deferred, wonderful. Thank you. 6B then is ENF recommendation for Doorstep Green and the Seesaw. So with this, I need to recommend to full council to release the funds for this. So has anybody got any questions on that? If not, I'm happy to propose a vote on that. If I have a seconder, Councillor Slade seconding. All in favour? Yeah, brilliant, thank you. And then 6C is recommendation from ENF for proposed by Councillor Creek and seconded by Councillor North for funds for the turnaround house project. So I just need a vote.
Do you want me to just?
Oh, okay. If you want to talk
just for Sandy's benefit, I think you were there, Councillor Thompson. I know Councillor Slade was in the meeting. At ENF, we had a grant application by Turnaround House just across the road, and they support people locally. I think they house about 20 odd people at a time, and they've got quite an ageing and questionable looking kitchen, and they try and do some life skills and bits and pieces in there as well. So they were looking to us for a grant to refurbish their kitchen. It was certainly seemed at ENF a very worthy charitable grant, but there wasn't enough in the ENF budget, so the remainder, the 1.5 remainders, come to GNR, as we've got a £5,000 pot of grant money that we've yet to spend this year. So just for context more than anything, so I'm happy to propose that.
Seconder? Councillor Slade, I think. All in favour? Yeah, wonderful, thank you. Let's just not going on. 6.d, recommendation from ENF to commit a further 50,000 from SIL EMR towards the Mountwise play area project. Do you want to say something else on that before we...
Yeah, again, I suppose for Councillor Carter's, to help you understand a bit, because us three were at the meeting that talked about this. We've got the new play park coming, £150,000 play park, £50,000 of which is coming from Boardmasters, £100,000 from the Community Infrastructure Levy Fund, because we've got a reasonable amount of money sat in the SIL fund, some of which expires soon and we need to spend it rather than sending it back. What we said was, let's use the full 150 from SIL. The Boardmasters money that comes in we can allocate into an open spaces EMR, so it's just wooden dollars essentially. We're just moving money around the accounts, but obviously we don't want to lose the SIL and the and we can only spend it on certain things. The Boardmasters money we can move into the open spaces EMR and top that up, but it's just moving money from one place to another, so hopefully that clarifies that.
Yeah. So the vote's then to recommend it needs to go to full council for that one. So do you want to propose?
Happy to propose that goes to full council.
I'll second on that one. All those in favour? Yay! Oh, whipping along. Whoop, whoop. Right. 6E, recommendation to agree to the release of £4,184 from the council office's property-related EMR, and that this work was carried out, this has been carried out already, it was on the drainage work that was outside, and it's sort of, this is a bookwork exercise because it's sort of got okayed by the wrong committee for this, so it's been done and paid for, it's just shuffling the figures around so it comes out in the correct books and correct paper trail. So I'm happy to propose retrospective approval for this. Seconder? Sandy's going to second. All in favour? Brilliant, thank you. Right, 7A. Oh, let's to get my laptop back up. Devolution reports, working party reports. Basically, oh gosh, we've gone through that piece of paper already. The main one that's pending on then this is the youth hub. So, Andy, do you want to start us off on this then? For
yeah, sure. So I understand Cornwall Council officers have had a meeting and they haven't sent us a response letter because instead I know they've met with the Cornwall councillors for the area. I don't know what the next step is, whether we're now waiting for a letter or whether that meeting's enough. I don't know whether Councillor Creek could...
Happy to step in. I'll be careful what I say. I'm not sure what I can say. We did ask the question at the time, Councillor Kenny and I, what we can and what we can't share, and they weren't overly clear. But I was a little bit surprised by the meeting, given that we're a couple of years in and that we haven't got further along with it, and it did seem to be a bit more of a brainstorming meeting than a solution meeting. So that was why I was a bit surprised and frustrated. But generally positive, I think. I think we're still waiting for Cornwall Council to decide what they're doing with their assets and their current delivery of services locally, as to what that will mean for the wider Cornwall Council estate as it currently stands. But what we have done is set up agreed with property and the CLO, Community Link Officer, Cornwall Councillors and Newquay Town Council to have a working party specifically around this particular item, and so that we can move it forward at pace. I have suggested with some of their services where they might want to rehouse them elsewhere, more suitable locations than the youth centre. I think you and I had this conversation offline, and I'm hopeful that that will progress. But I do think that the working party meeting, which I think Helen, the CLO, is putting in the diary for end of November, beginning of December, we'll start to move this along at pace. And so my ambition is to still have this youth centre in a shorter amount of time than maybe that they were talking about. Certainly the officers in the property department seem to be of the opinion in the short to medium term that, you know, they very much want us to be able to do what we want with it, and hand it over essentially at some point. It's just them working out what they're going to do with, you know, their assets in terms of their staff, where they're going to work, and some of the services they offer locally, because a lot of their infrastructure is ageing and they've abandoned this one hub approach that was going to go into the adult education centre site. So I think that's caused them some problems. So it's lots of moving pieces, but I do think insisting on that working party just moves it along and puts it in the forefront of everyone's mind. And we had all of the senior property people there, as you all know. So hopefully that helps. I know it's not a finite decision, but what it isn't is a letter that says we can't have it.
So we've got a Teams Nuclear Youth Centre working party meeting at 12 o'clock on Monday the 24th before GNR in the evening.
Very good.
So maybe we can...
Is that it then? Is it the 24th?
Yeah, 24th of November. So maybe we'll have some more...
Oh, what's that in my diary? You sure that's the one?
It's in my diary. It's written down by hand. It's stone.
I'll check it.
I walked up the mountain especially to write that in there. Brilliant. So I don't think we've got any other news, have we, on devolved anything? No.
Have we had access to the RDO? We have.
Yes, we're waiting on a report that's imminent. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Nothing else on that one. Right, okay, so 9A, budget monitoring, the monthly report. So we've got, GNR monthly budget report and GNR EMR. And hopefully we've looked at those. So over to Anne, I think, for discussion and what's for noting.
Yeah, so all of these are for noting really. The ones that you've got on here, the first report you've got is just our GNR budget report. You're around £65,000 under budget at the moment, and that's generally down to the contingency reserve, which is on line 78, because that hasn't been allocated to the specific funds. You've got seal receipts of just over 17,000, although we've just had another £28,000 in, but that's not on this budget report yet, which is line 56. You've also got the election expenses in there on line 50. And the final one is the insurance, which is on line 7, which is due at the beginning of November. So they're your main variances. The next two reports are just detailed information of spend. So you've got your legal fees and things, so that you've got a breakdown of anything that you would like to see there. And then the third one down is your EMR balances as they are at today's date. And that's with your releases and your committed releases as well. Obviously the ones we've discussed today aren't on there, but they are on one that I've done later. And then the fourth document on there is a slightly revised version of your EMRs, because we felt it might be useful following a conversation with some members around which EMRs, what their purpose is. We haven't really circulated that before, so that's what the predicted balances are, and there's a description of what their usage is. So that's just for information.
Comments on anything? Questions, Fran? Comments? No? Sandy's happy? Thanks. I mean, thank you, Anne. Sort of like Drew's pondering. Steve, do you feel it? Yeah. But you look happy, so happy disposition. Yeah.
There does seem this is really interesting, and thank you.
You can ask me something.
I think I asked for it, didn't I? And it's really useful to see, actually, because as you say, we don't get to see that sort of detail. And this is the closing balance predicted at the end of 2026, so at the end of this financial year. Okay, okay. That tells quite an interesting story, actually, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, but generally speaking, looking at EMRs over the last couple of years, we have started to top them up again after a reasonable amount of plundering in the subsequent or the previous few years. So that's.
I think there's a couple that you haven't topped up.
Okay.
One is the open spaces EMR.
That's what we're about to put 50 grand into.
And also the public communities as well. That used to have about 7, but that's within
Yeah, I mean, I could foresee, depending on some decisions that we need to make at full council, that we could top that up with some capital income. No? Oh, does it? You can't put that into the EMR? Oh, not that EMR. Okay, fair enough. Different EMR. Okay, well, good to know. Thank you for that. That's and I'd note that we've got the Dinard twinning EMR, which I didn't even know we had.
Yeah. So we discussed that earlier today. So that money could go into grant pot.
Can we tidy some of these up? Like, I mean, there's a couple here, a homeless pilot project. I don't know what that was, but that's obviously. I mean, I've been here 5 years. I don't think that's relevant to the last 5 years.
It would depend how you would like us to tidy it. I mean, the homeless project or pilot project, obviously you have a corporate plan objective around homeless now. So it's whether you want to tidy them up at this stage or wait until your directors are in and start saying, well, actually, this is better use of some funds, and whether you move it at that stage, maybe. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not in a rush. Just at some point, it'd be nice to tidy them up, wouldn't it? Because I'm so to say that one's been sat there for more than 5 years for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about, lumping all the vehicle stuff together, really. Because you've separated out road tax and petrol and things. I'm just wondering if.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about EMRs. This one.
Oh, okay. No.
Their budget reports. It's on under 9.
Okay, I haven't got a printout of it. Sorry. Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
You can just see that on there there's a couple that we've obviously not used for a long time.
I did look at them earlier. Oh.
We always do
No,
a
I
little
haven't-
bit of tidying at the end of the financial year as well as part of when we do the accounts, so you can always
Sure.
do something then if you like.
Okay. 16 grand in the neighbourhood fund, they make good planning.
It says having a revenue line, so it's building up to having a new neighbourhood plan.
Right. Is there anything? Oh, yes. When can we lose the Councillor Formosa community chest?
Okay.
We literally don't have to see that. Yes, thank you. Any other comments? No, we all okay on that. So I think those are just for noting. So we don't have to vote on those as such. So the next one then is the IT manager's photocopier disposal. So would you care to comment on that, Will? Or are we okay? We've all practiced our reading skills and read it, and or have any questions for Will? Has he sat in the room? Basically, we've got this old piece of equipment that is no use for man or beast, so it needs to be got rid of. So
yeah. And it has been gotten rid of already. So we're asking.
It's a miracle it got up and walked out.
Yeah. So it's retrospective approval basically.
Okay.
That we recommend. email was circulated round to get approval from councillors. Most people went with option 2, which was the e-waste disposal. So that was free of charge service from our e-waste supplier or contractor. So yeah, that's been dealt with. We did try and recoup some value for it, but it was on eBay and Facebook Marketplace for a long time and didn't get any interest.
So I've got down then representative needs to go to full council to vote on that. So you want to a question?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
Sorry, just a very quick, and sounds fine, happy with it, happy to support. Is this not something that can be done under sort of scheme of delegation? I mean, this feels like a very operational part of the council's world, and I'm very much keen to kind of drag it back towards strategic. Why does that got to go through GNR? Well, email, GNR, full council before we can? That just seems mad to me.
2 reasons. So any disposal of assets at the moment, any disposal of assets have to go to full council regardless. I think we're working on a de minimis level anyway. But secondly, we haven't yet put in place the new scheme of delegation. So that's planned for November. So we're just working on that at the moment. When that's in place, then yes, I would certainly say this would be one of the candidates that takes it away from waiting for a member decision at committee.
Right, okay, so I'm happy to propose that for voting for full council. Seconder? Yeah, seconded. All in favour? Yep. Brilliant. Thank you. Right, 9.bi, budget planning and setting. We're going to look at the staffing budget first and over to Anne for discussion and voting.
Yep, sure. This is a set out. There have been some slight tweaks, which obviously we will have to go through in confidential section. But the big items on here are the LGS pension scheme. Their valuation is coming up soon, and I should have that information on the 5th of November. That's when they've said we're going to get it. That may impact this budget quite significantly, but at the current time we don't know what that is. So that's why that's highlighted. And that will also knock through to all of the contributions, unless it doesn't change, which has happened before. But yeah, it's as set out in line with the staff review. So it's just for noting at this time, unless there was something particular you wanted to add or change. But obviously, if it was staffing, we couldn't discuss it right now.
No, so we'll move on later if anyone's got any questions on that. So do I need to vote on it to move it later? No. Okay. And then the GNR budget.
Yep. So again, this has come through committee before. There have been some slight tweaks in terms of I've now put a 3.8% increase on the majority of the expenditure following some feedback of making sure it was in line with CPI. So I've done that, but there's no major changes throughout this budget from the last one you saw in September. But obviously it's here for your information.
Sorry, any questions, queries, comments?
And then the last document in 9BI is the EMRs for GNR. And you can see that this is more up to date, and it's got the second SIL payment and some of the clear downs and the additional funding for the Mountwise play area, the SIL there too. So that gives you a slightly more up to date version.
Yeah, I suppose the only word of warning I would say is obviously we're aware there's some significant costs coming up with roofs and solar panels and things like that. So whilst the figures look very healthy at the moment, I think in particular the property line, council offices line, is likely to be reduced quite dramatically over the next 12 months, if not 6 months.
Yes. Yes, because you have to build up capital to then be able to spend it on capital projects. So that's completely normal, but if anybody was in doubts about that. No?
No.
No.
I've
Oh, okay.
spent some time with Dan and Andy the other day and asked all my questions.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, gosh.
Reasonably comfortable.
You're all right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Wonderful. Okay. Oh gosh, which one are we on? CT. So don't need anything to vote on that, was it? No. No. Okay. Wonderful.
So
Oh.
I was just going to say, for all of these documents that you're about to see, these are all drafts. There's still potential for them to change between now
Yeah.
and when you actually agree your precept. What I've tried to do is highlight things in yellow that have changed at a committee meeting so that you know there was a decision, or it's something that I've changed since because I've got more information. Because like I've said previously, you wouldn't have this level of detail at this point. You'll be more interested in the wider figures, and that's what we'll discuss later. But yeah, so this is just for your information, just in case there's anything that you want to highlight or bring, have any questions on. I'll do my best to answer them.
Was it a hand raised then for it was a question? I knew there'd be one there, sort of like.
Is this C&T we're asking?
Yeah, C&T. Given that we are having some jiggery-pokery with grants, and actually we're going to increase the amount of expenditure in grants next year, I'm not sure that there's a necessity to increasing the C&T tourism grants from 5,000 to 6,250 would be point one. So I'd knock it back to 5,000. It's also it is also double that of which E and F get, which is 2,500. So there's there is obviously a what's the word I'm looking for? There's no equity there. The other thing is, I note that we're putting tourism grants up by 3.8, which I know you said you're putting everything up by 3.8, but it leaves a funny number. I don't like the funny number when we're talking about grants. Everything else more than happy with. I think if we're going to increase grants in the future, then we should just do it by a nice round number, because it just makes it slightly more tricky when people come for pots of money, because they tend to come for round pots of money, don't they? And having £487.50 just seems like an odd number, and then the following year £734.03 sounds like an even more odd number. Is that all right? And then if we decide in the future that we want to increase them, then we'll increase them by a number. And no offence to C&T, I think.
Can I ask a question? Does that need to go back to C&T? Yeah. So I'll put those back to C&T.
Also, the £4,000 additional for zombie crawl.
Yeah.
Why is that? Do we know? Because that's paid for by Newquay Bid, and we support them with officer time.
So my understanding is that there was a slight question around the funding element of that with Bid, which Amy was aware of, the new events officer, and she also wanted to add onto that event because of its big success and the fact that we do things here, and that was one of the events that she really wanted to give back to the community, and that was her request. So it was a mixture of Bid funding and the fact that she wanted to, increase the event.
I think we've historically never funded the zombie crawl. I think we occasionally give them bits and pots of money just for like face paint and stuff, maybe from memory. But yeah, and we give them in-kind support in officer time. I think to go from nothing to 4,000, and obviously Bid have just had a 5-year extension. And don't get me wrong, zombie crawl, amazing, loved it on Saturday. Thought it was the biggest and best one ever, and we should be contributing, and happy to contribute a bit. But 4,000 seems like a lot to me. So could we refer that back, and maybe we could get an idea from Mark from Bid what it actually cost on Saturday, and talking to some of the suppliers. I know that they wanted to try and, for example, put on a second pumpkin location next year, and that will come at a cost. They might want to put on some more face. That will come at a cost. So let's get some costings, understand from Bid, given they've got a 5-year term now, which includes next year, and they've got some more money as they've had an uplift. Actually, what does that look like, and what does that piece of partnership work need to be?
I'll ask Amy to put a report specifically on that back to C&T for them. She would be able to answer all of that right now this second, and I'm not able to, sorry.
So it's sort of like looking this in the first aid that's come out from the festival is on line 38. Why are we suddenly providing first aid for that as opposed to getting St John's ambulance in, or do they charge? I don't know. Yeah. They charge. Okay. So is this St John's ambulance, or is this doing it? Yeah, because it's not budgeted on here. I'm just wondering why it suddenly popped up.
Comes out the events budget, then?
It normally comes out of the events budget, and I think each individual event is covered by a budget. And when I went through this with Amy, there was a significant increase in terms of the events that are being planned for next financial year, as well as in the preparation for Martin's Law as well. So we are moving towards doing all of that, and Shiva said this was what we required for those specific events.
Because is there a budget for Martin's Law?
There is a budget for Martin's Law in terms of what we don't, it's in GNR, it's right at the bottom near the contingency. We've got 20,000.
Right.
It's just she knows and has calculated people what they need in terms of first aid and security guards and everything for her events. And this was around her knowing that they're the true costs of running the events, which is why they're in there. In terms of the other elements of Martin's Law, there's a lot of stuff that will come in maybe with systems or directors and all kinds of other things that we will need to do to make areas compliant. And that's why it's been done in that way. Because it affects this budget mainly.
Okay. I'm just wondering if there was overlap in there, or how it's being separated out. And then if bid are paying for the zombie corps, for instance, or not, then is that within that as well, in terms of first aid? Is there as a true cost for that?
I can ask Amy to update C&T.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Anything else? Yep.
So it was just to say, I know, and I was really one of the instigators of this a couple of years ago, increasing the C&T budget quite heavily. I think we almost doubled it at one point, didn't we? And that was for very good reason. And so I feel a little bit nervous priming more money into that budget. We're talking more than 10% year on year just in that one section around events. And I think we were looking at moving to a more kind of supporting others to deliver events as opposed to delivering all the events ourselves, because we know that it is quite resource heavy and there is only so many. And what I've heard from officers over the last couple of years is we can't keep expecting the events team to keep doing events like all the time, and so let's work with partners like the food festival and bits and pieces to get events delivered. And so on that basis alone, I would imagine that the budget would be about the same with inflation on top. So I think if we could go back to C&T and get them to have another, and I will attend the next C&T to justify the reasoning for my ask, but I think given some of the financial commitments that we've already made this financial year, it's going to be a tricky one at the end of the year. Let's not make it worse than it needs to be.
I was going to say, my only comeback to that is Martin's Law is huge. It is going to cost us a lot of money, and that is exactly where it's going to be put. You know, and this year, and there was a general consensus from a few councillors that because the actual date of going live was not until the following year, that we didn't have to prepare and do all these things. But actually, after speaking with Andy and going through that, it's not the case. We should be starting all of these things and implementing them. And I think this gives us the flexibility to do that. Even on the keel that we're doing events a similar size, you're not increasing events. What you're doing is making sure that you've got the right resources to run the events that you want to run, if you see what I mean.
I completely agree, and that doesn't form part of this budget though, does it? The staffing element of that sits under the...
No, because most of the staffing element is security guards and things like that.
So I was going to ask a question about the security guard.
Yeah.
So why is the security guard now sat under a budget line as opposed to an employee line, which is...
So this is specific security guards that have a different licence for...
So this is above and beyond that which we already have, is that what you mean? Okay, so that's useful to understand. But just to your point, not all of this money is exactly about Martin's Law. So the zombie crawl, the 4,000 additional for that, and the 1,250 for the tourism grants, that's not about Martin's Law, and that makes up the bulk of the increase year on year in that particular section there. So, I mean, that's what, 5.2 out of an increase of 9. So, you know, that's... So I think that's what I was asking, is if we can go back to C&T and just ask them to have a rethink of that. And I will go to the next C&T and just try to understand what community engagements budget's about as well.
Yeah, there's budget in here, I think, for the Christmas tree going on the Killer Court, and that budget's increased by 10%, but I thought we had grant funding for the Christmas tree on the Killer Court.
For this year?
Right, okay. Right, okay, so, oh gosh, where's my key bit of paper? Did we need to vote on that? No, we don't need to vote on that, do we? Yeah, for feedback. Right, so that was that one.
The next one on here is the investment assets. I think you've got it. You haven't.
Which investment assets, right, okay, yeah, got you. Yeah.
So we haven't, there were a few decisions made at ENF that we haven't been able to incorporate into the budget, so we just wanted to let you know about those. The first one is any increase in the car park income as a result of parking order. That's something that needs to be worked through, and there's a lot of information there that needs to be reviewed before the 20% less, which was agreed at ENF. The other thing in terms of how our sector, what's changed is line, that's on my line 19, because I've included 6 months rental of the ground floor of the NatWest Centre. They're the only things I think that I've amended since ENF on this project.
Questions, comments?
Sorry, you groaned there, Councillor.
No, I didn't know.
He's at it again.
It's just sort of like, I'm just waiting for the twitch, because you just sort of like put your finger up, and it's like, I've got to interpret that.
At what point can we, so we've increased everything else by 3.8%, at what point can we increase the rental income from the Mount Wise Centre and the service charges?
So the service charges are done on actuals year in arrears each year, so they should be covered, but they're a year in arrears.
They're the same one
Yeah,
every year.
because at the moment we don't know what they are, so we predict them. So if one goes up, the other one will go up the following year, so they adjust. Also, the other thing is, I think we were discussing it today, all of those leases are actually at the end of their lease in April next year. Is that what we said? Most of them are. So we would be getting a revised valuation, market valuation for all of those. And when they're renewed also, there would be the index linked increase annually, which there hadn't been previously. So that's something that will go in there. But for this year, I've just left it as the same, plus the amount that we already know about. What I haven't done in this, which does need doing, is I haven't, because you asked, is I haven't done a reduction in the business rates. So I haven't done that bit yet. That's the bit I haven't done.
Didn't the government come out about reducing business rates? I think that came as on the news today that they're looking to reduce business rates and things. Maybe. Okay.
So there may be some change in that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, where did I see it? The Legionella testing. Was it just me, or were we thinking of getting somebody trained that they could do that?
Yeah, I believe that is on the radar. We are trying to do that. It's an understanding. Yep, so they're already trained now.
Yeah.
Yes, so that piece of work has been done.
Simon and Rob.
Yeah, yeah. So does that a case you buy kits in, or do you take the samples and send them off?
I believe it's just a water sample that they do there and then on site. I
So
don't
it's an
think they
on-site
send it off.
testing kit?
Yeah.
Right, okay, oh,
So
brilliant.
it's the equipment and the
So
testing.
that, I mean, I can't even see where oh, there it is, right, line 30. I mean, it's not much, but it's something, isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite a lot of
Yeah, yeah. So yes, I mean, it gets repeated down, so that will save. That's a great saving. Anything else that we can get people trained up to test for?
Probably talks about the same for jet washing trains or something.
Well, yeah, there was kit though as well.
I think,
wasn't it?
yeah, there's a couple of ideas. It's just the logistics of different sites, not all of them having hoses and things like that. So vehicle changes and stuff like that, which it's all being looked at. So hopefully
yeah.
in the future we might have some more savings.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. So anything else on the investment assets? No? You're okay on that? Brilliant, okay, so next one then is toilets, our favourite topic. That's okay. Well, hopefully, I'm thinking of getting the external and internal advertising going on the toilets. It was suggested quite a long time ago and then didn't really happen. Now, outside, yes, but inside, no. You know, when I came back to the service station at Exeter, then there was huge, great big on the inside complete door for English heritage sites in Cornwall. So, you know, having, you know, and it definitely cheered the toilet up. Who doesn't like to sit there and read something entertaining on the back of a door? So, you know, something like that, and you know, it was you know, quite impressive. So using some imagination on the inside, you know, inside of the toilets for advertising space, because goodness knows how much English Heritage paid for all the different sites, big sort of covering the whole door images. There's no reason why we can't do that in Newquay, and it's got more of a captive audience in Newquay as well, because I mean at Exeter Services they could easily be going down to Torquay, our competitor. So yeah, Will.
I just mentioned something about just being aware about the vandalism in the toilet. So whatever this advertising is, it needs to be well protected and easily cleaned off, because otherwise they're just going to have to keep replacing it constantly. Because I mean, I'm in the process of gathering data on vandalism at the moment. We've got a vandalism database that we're trying to input that data into, and it is shocking the sheer volume of it. sort of daily.
Yes, vandalism, it's so disappointing, isn't it, that people feel that to be effective in life then they've got to destroy things. Yes, and the cost that we will have to pay to cover that is really shocking and depressing, and again, we will have to pay for that. Yes, we have to do vandalism, but if we put a halt on everything for vandalism, then we're not going to get anywhere. Yeah, it was just an idea though. But if we could, I don't know if all the toilets are equally vandalised. I don't know if Trunance is equally up for being vandalised compared to any other toilet. I don't know.
Well, I hope that
Spatial awareness of vandalism.
I hope that by sort of, the next financial year, we should have some good data to be able to explain exactly how much and where it's happening and things.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like with toilets, you can't really say we're watching you, can we? Really, that wouldn't be a good look. But also on the outside, and with the car parks, it's getting those planning permissions in. There's the Cornwall Council car parks have lots of advertising in. The one opposite, not Mallet, what's the Micro DIY, that has like size A0 advertising boards in. So that would be good, but also on the outside though of toilets and things. Yeah. Please. Drew?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question, Anne. The income from the toilets, so this year projecting 59,192, next year 47,806, but we know that we're installing contactless on a number of additional toilets. So one would assume the income would go up. Is that because we've put capital spend into an income box and that's why that's jumped up, or what's the...
I think that's the grant funding.
Okay. Oh yes, you're right, sorry. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And have we factored in any of that new income that we have not, so we haven't realised any of that? Yeah. Okay, so it might be an idea to, given the data that we have for the other toilets, where we're putting in contactless for the first time, for example, use that as a, because that will be income that we will realise next year, and we know what the cost of it will be in terms of like transaction fees and bits and pieces. So it would be only right of us to predict, or at least put a prediction into there for the income lines on those.
And through the chair, Anne, could you remind me, did we put the costs of installing the contactless machines in all the new sites in this, so they're in there already? And is that coming out of the EMR, is that revenue?
Just revenue, just for that one.
Just looking on water usage, the water and sewage usage. So, I mean, I think the biggest one is Watergate, isn't it, at cost? Yeah, but closely followed by Little Fistral Toilet. Is that because people camping there basically using excessive amounts of water for washing as well?
I'd hazard a guess as saying yes, but also today, I think, was it today or yesterday, there was some comms around the team spotting a person filling up 3 10-litre things of water from our free water, at Porth. Porth, the new one. 10 litres, 3 of them. So obviously the costs of that are now going to be borne by us, and that's something we're going to have to monitor, I think.
So we need to think, I think, looking at measures in terms of how easy it will, to stop that ease of using excessive amounts of water. Yes, I mean, fair enough, we've got the showers that, theoretically that they're paying for at Watergate, but we don't at Little Fistral, and putting making it more awkward for filling up containers, and or what, taps on sinks. I don't know how they're accessing water, whether it's worth putting sort of push button ones that they can't. I don't know. I think it needs looking at as to how the water's being accessed at Little Fistral.
It's only going to get worse.
Okay, I'll shut up then on that one. Yeah. Did the water get sorted out up at the skateboard park, because that was a ridiculous amount as a one-off payment, wasn't it? That for putting a meter in as opposed to or something, or was there a leak up there? And
We've got a meeting update. But they can't do it. They can't request you to
so we haven't had that there, because it was like over £2,000 for 1 month. And you compare the other months for like, it's just nuts. Right, okay. So that's sort of a work in process. Right, okay, let me fold up these bits. I'm being swamped with bits of paper here. Right, so next one is budget working document for assets, yeah. Yeah.
Again, I'll try to highlight the ones that were amended during the meeting so that you know what the changes have been. Things that I haven't done, because I will read it here, is I have not put any money into the ground floor rent of Martha's Hill. It was looked at that we would put 6 months, sorry, the whole of the TIC from the 1st of April and 6 months for the others, and a reduction in business rates. And I can't do a reduction in business rates given the changes that happened with the Mount Wise Centre of our business rates. I don't think that would be sensible on usage, because we haven't looked at that in any detail. And there's a feeling that, given the project works that will be required on this building, potentially a whole rewire, etc., that's not realistic, possibly in terms.
Can I just make a point? I think
Yeah.
the aspiration is we will deliver something, but
Yeah.
there's so many risks at the moment. Obviously, the director's not in post, the number of posts are vacant.
Yeah.
There's some updates I'll give under the confidential section around other wider staffing, which will impact service delivery short to medium term. And so with all of that, as well as the building works, we know we have to do, it's high risk. So I think we've said if we can hold off on that in terms of budgeting, but if we can do something, we certainly will, and you would see that in the budget
Yeah.
as soon as it occurs.
Yeah. Yeah, and likewise, you haven't put anything in terms of what DEFRA is going to be paying out for Priory Woods, because that should easily wipe its face for the cost for that. Yeah, the sort of like glacial snail pace that DEFRA work at is quite impressive. Any other comments?
Nothing from me.
No, Drew?
Surprisingly, no.
Mm. So that little finger's not going to...
No.
Oh, okay.
The
So-
next 2 documents are just for information, and they are the CMT EMR balances and the EMR balances with commitments. So it's the way on
don't know, I can't find where the bit of paper is for that. Right. Finding that different button on the laptop.
Can I just make the point again on some of the EMRs, particularly around properties? Obviously, they look reasonably healthy, but we know there is a significant spend, particularly for the library roof. And so
Yeah.
that money's unlikely to be there short term.
No. Anything else on that? Any questions? No? Okay. So is that both those EMR ones then?
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. And so all of that was for noting, wasn't it? Yes, yes, indeedy. Brilliant. Okay, hang on, let me just clear the decks for more bits of paper. Okay. Right, governance assertion reviews. So these, we just need to vote on this, that due process has been done. I mean, they're done and signed, and how are people attending for that? Are people turning up, or is it just me, just me on my own on occasions still again?
Yeah, there's a significant well, hardly anyone ever comes. So, and they should. I mean, it is really a councillor's responsibility to be able to, at the end of the financial year, ensure that they are confident in their own right. So not me, not confident that I've done everything right and it's down to me. It's you're responsible to make sure that you can confidently say and agree all of the statements. And if you don't do these, you can't say that. So it's, and we have introduced doing some in the evenings as well. If people want to,
Yeah, before meetings, isn't it?
Yeah, still hasn't been much take up.
So, okay. So do we have spaces that haven't been taken up yet?
I'm sure we have lots.
Okay.
It's how to get people to come, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, as it was, I'm still, you know, you can still use me as backup if you need to, rather than cancelling it. I'd much rather that than rather start doubling it up for next meeting. So, please. So, is there one for October? Oh, there is one for October, isn't there? Yeah. That one's been done. Yeah. Okay. So, voting for that. So I'm happy to propose them. Seconder. Brilliant. Thank you, Drew. Everyone, yes. Great stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Can we just stick it on the full council meeting for December and I'll have a moan? Thank you.
Yeah. Right, correspondence. Letter from our MP. Well, so yes. So has anyone got any comments on this sort of like to begin with?
I'm happy to comment if you'd like me to.
Yeah, if you want to start, yes, I'm.
Yeah, no, I think we should firstly respond to Noah, the MP, Noah Law. Thank him for his interest in the Whipstory Cliffs. I think we're all very passionate about Whipstory Cliffs and the future of the cliffs and trying to get that reopened to the public, although that seems less and less likely by the day. I think the reality of the town council being able to take over that particular asset or liability, depending on which way you look at it, I'm not sure, and I'll take some advice from the RFO and the clerk, but I can't imagine that the town council, well, essentially it could bankrupt the town council if we were to take that asset on and something significant could happen. And let's be honest, it's very likely that something significant, more significant, is still going to happen with that site. And you know, and the idea that we might have a road there in 10 years is, you know, to me seems unlikely. But so I mean, I'd personally be happy to respond to Noah, thank him for his interest, and, you know, express our keen commitment to work alongside him, putting pressure on Cornwall Council to deal with the issues that their assets causing.
Brilliant, thank you. I know the letter's addressed to you, Drew. Do you want to work with Andy on that letter, or do you want to write that letter and then zip it around that we're all okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, if the committee's happy to give delegated authority to the clerk and I to write it with the RFO sign off, I suppose, given it has financial implications for bankrupting us, then yeah.
I think sort of giving this compulsory purchase order as well, we don't have the powers for that, only Cornwall Council do, hence pushing it back into their responsibility. And the developers are going to want the development, price of the land, which we cannot afford. So that's why Councillor Creek is saying, it could bankrupt us. It's just not something that we can really enter into, even if we wanted to, on a strategic ground. So.
Just on that point, I think you're absolutely right in terms of the actual purchase price. I think the point I was actually making is that the liability is more than likely to bankrupt us when something eventually goes wrong, and it will.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I'm not for buying crumbling pieces of large cliff going. Well, it's sort of noting on this that the base of the cliff though hasn't collapsed. It's purely from the top. The caves are still there. They've just been buried. Anyway, so that was a little bit misunderstanding. Right, Sandy, yeah.
What I wanted to say is the developer is responsible for a great deal of the cliff fall at Whipsonderry, and I don't see any way that we should be able to reward him for what he's done. I mean, we can't even put the council in that position, I don't think.
The potential of the cutting off of part of our town as a community, as the main way of communication, is going to have huge repercussions for the future. And just on that note, just to put it out there, remind people that in November where have I lost it? November the 11th, Tuesday the 11th, November the 11th is at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Griffin. There's a public hearing about Paradise Cove. So I strongly recommend that you attend that meeting, whoever might be listening. It's Tuesday the 11th of November, so they can discuss with Cornwall Council as to the future and express their thoughts and views and all those other things too. Brilliant, thank you. So we need
I'll propose that.
Yeah, you can propose that. I'll second that.
Delegated authority.
Yeah, delegated authority for the letter. You all right there, Sandy? Was that? Yeah. Brilliant, thank you. So now we go to what do you call it? Sorry. Exempt business. Sorry. So yes. So do I vote? Do we have to vote on that? Yes. So I'm proposing exempt business. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye. I think Councillor Slade seconded, and we're just waving our arms around.
We're just all sort of doing this, Kathy, just to confuse things.
Camera off, Kath.